Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Many a True Nerd. Welcome to Imperator Rome. Oh yes, I've got my hands on this one just a little bit early, and I could not be more thrilled. Just in case you're out of the loop, Imperator Rome is being made by Paradox, who are also responsible for Stellaris, Crusader Kings 2, basically some of my favourite games of all time. And now they've made a new grand strategy game set in the period of Rome and Carthage and the successor states, and basically all the things I love in the world have just coalesced perfectly into one flipping game that I get to bring you just a little bit early, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, bloody hell, it's going to be great. So yes, indeed, I've got this a little bit early, and Paradox just asked for one little favour from me in return, which is so far they've had a couple of people show off the big republics, Rome, Carthage, that sort of thing, with their senates and factions and democracy. Honestly, no, that sounds like that's just going to get in the way. We're going to show off a different way of doing things today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a little look-see at the monarchies. So welcome to the delightfully large map. It's a really pretty map, by the way. If you actually zoom right in, you can get right up to, little hills and cities and lakes and all sorts. It's very, very pretty indeed. I do rather like the map. And it doesn't just cover Europe. We actually go all the flipping way around over here to India and all sorts of bits and pieces. It's a very, very big map with a hell of a lot of different factions you can play as well. The year is 450 AUC, ab urbe condita, the dating system being used in game being counting from the foundation of Rome, because of course no one in the ancient world used BC or AD because they didn't know at the time they were supposed to be counting down to the creation of religion that no one at the time was following. And that 450 AUC, as it says at the top there, translates to 304 BC. Alexander the Great has been and gone. He did his business and died about 20 years ago. And all the leaders of the successor states that his empire broke down into decided the best possible thing they could do would be immediately start punching each other in the face as hard as possible. In fact, by this point in history, there's already been 4 major international wars between Alexander's successors. The whole thing also slightly descended to black comedy with Alexander's own dynasty, where there was a slightly horrifying rush by all of the various successor generals to try and secure all of Alexander's family, marry off Alexander's family to members of their own family, murder off all of Alexander's family when they just decided screw this business, and even up to and including trying to basically just steal Alexander the Great's corpse because screw it, why not? Further west, Rome's a little upstart republic that's finally starting to find its legs. It's just won a major war against the Samnites to the south and is now turning its attention to the Etruscans to the north. So they're hardly a world power yet, but they're starting to make moves in that direction. The real local power, however, is Carthage, of course, in possession of bits of Sicily, Sardinia, all various bits of Africa and bits of Spain as well. They are rich, they are prosperous, and at this point in history, they probably don't even really consider Rome that much of a threat. Instead, they're a bit busy at the minute trying to take the rest of Sicily off various Hellenic groups that would rather have it for themselves. And as you can see, there's a lot of other players as well, but let's not give a backstory to every single one of them because we'd be here all flipping day. Instead, let's start talking about who I'm going to be playing as today. You see, I want to give some love to arguably the most historically significant empire in all of world history, together with perhaps the most important city that has ever existed. A city without which Western civilization might look totally 100% different. And of course, with an introduction like that, I could only be talking about Knossos down here in Crete. You weren't expecting me to say that, were you? But you should be, because the Minoan civilization doesn't get nearly enough love, damn it. So this down here is Crete. And about 5,000 years ago, 3000 BC, the Minoan Empire started doing its own thing. And by about 2000 BC, they were at the height of their powers. This was a powerful, outward-looking trading empire whose influence on the entirety of European history cannot possibly be overstated. I would argue they were the first civilization in Europe, and Knossos the first thing you could reasonably call a city. We are talking at 2000 BC, palaces with multiple stories, plumbing systems involving an ability to drain wastewater away. 2000 BC! And not just great architects, but great artists too. They traded with Egypt, they traded with the Near East, they traded with mainland Greece. They were the first civilization to spread Hellenic culture to huge parts of the world. This is hugely significant stuff. Because in the end, huge amounts of modern-day European culture are due to the influence of Rome. And Rome is the way it was because of the influence of Greece. And ultimately, when you trace it right back, the reason Greece is the way it is because of Crete. They are at the root of everything. Now, the vast majority of you might be sitting there right now saying, well, this can't possibly be true. If Crete and these Minoans were so important, then I'd have heard about all of this before today. And then we get to the tragedy of the Minoans, which is by the time we hit 1000 BC, they're already long gone. Their empire disintegrated. And we don't even know why. One theory is the Greek mainland invaded and destroyed them. Another that I really rather like is, over here, Terra, modern-day Santorini, is in fact a massive volcano, which we know erupted at roughly the right point in history to potentially have caused some real flipping problems for Crete, like, say, a massive tsunami that might have destroyed their fleets. And a sea trading empire without a fleet is certainly in a lot of trouble. The sign of earthquake damage, which may or may not be directly related to the volcano, but we simply don't know for how important they are. The Minoans are a mystery to us. Even the name Minoan is a modern invention, as in Minos, the mythical figure with the labyrinth and the Minotaur and all of that business. They didn't call themselves the Minoans. As far as I'm aware, we don't know what they called themselves, because the hilarious thing is, their language that we refer to as Linear A, it's indecipherable. We've got it in front of us, but nobody can figure out how to speak it. These guys are a total flipping mystery. So you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I've decided it's time for Crete to rise again. So let's dive in and I'll introduce the game to you. So welcome to Knossos, which has seen better days, because poor old Crete is very divided right now. In fact, I believe every single city is its own independent city-state, with the exception of that little empire just directly to my south, who have got a whole whopping 2 cities in their empire. So don't go flipping mad with power, lads. So this here is a very divided part of the world, and if we look elsewhere, sure, we've been looking at, say, Phrygia from high up so far, but if we zoom right in, every single one of these individual tiny bits of land is its own city. So there are a lot of cities in this game. I think I recall seeing in a dev diary, they said like 7,000 individual cities. So there's a lot of land to be fought over here. And indeed, a lot of factions to fight over it. Still, let's start off with the single most important thing here when you're a monarchy. And that, of course, is the Basileus himself, the Greek word for king. Here we go, Pantodarnos Paneid. This guy's not a historical character, by the way, he's just been sort of generated randomly, I think. Obviously, in situations where we do know who the actual relevant historical figures were, the right historical figure will actually be present. So, there's Cassander right there, and somewhere over here in Phrygia. There's Antigonos, marvellous. So yeah, all the successor generals are all in their right place. But with this many factions on the map, so much of them in barbarian territory where there are not good records, yeah, we don't actually know who was ruling these societies at any given moment, so there have just been some assumptions made, understandably. So he is stubborn, he is zealous, and he is forgiving. Absolutely flippin' marvellous. But what's more important is, you may well notice that these stats on his character sheet correspond to the stats at the top of the screen. And those stats are your big main currency in the game. And this is why the monarch himself is so flipping crucial. You see, these stats are heavily influenced by the Basileus himself. Military powers going up +3 a month, for example. +2 is the base, and then we're getting another +1 from the Basileus, because the game seems to take the relevant stat, divide it by 2, and then round down. So 3 down to 1.5, rounded down to 1. However, Pantodarnos here is much better when it comes to finesse and charisma. So as a result of that, Civic Power is going up +6 every month. And then if we move over to Oratory, same again, with religion just a little bit lower at +5. Decent enough, if not spectacular. And that's the thing about monarchy, of course. In a republic, we'd be having elections on the regular. So in a few years' time, someone who was really, really good at military stuff might come in. But not here. This guy's only 23 years old. He's going to be alive for a very, very long time. And he rules until he dies, meaning for decades into the future, my society is going to be shaped by what this guy is and isn't good at, meaning we can do more civic stuff, more oratorical stuff, a decent amount of religious stuff, but with the compromise that we are going to be weaker militarily. I need to make sure my entire empire and how I proceed through my campaign suits the current ruler. But there are compensations for that, of course. With no Senate and no democracy and no elections or anything, I can pretty much do whatever it is I want. So if I want to basically just invade all my neighbours and try and take all their stuff off them, there's no one to stop me doing that. So monarchs can get the military ball rolling a lot faster and more easily than republics can. Speaking of which, I'd say it's probably time to start planning an invasion, because we're not going to go reforming the magnificent Minoan Empire with a single flipping city. But before we do that, we need to figure out the political reality on the ground, because I think I've already got myself, yes, I've already got some friends and whatnot. So this guy over here on the far east of the island, Prisos, he's my ally. So he's got 5,000 men standing by to assist me if I decide to go to war. Meanwhile, my immediate neighbour to the west is in fact my feudatory. This basically just means vassal, and it should be very familiar to you as an idea if you've played any Paradox games before. He'll follow me into wars, and if I want to down the line, I can integrate him into my own empire, but let's not worry about that just yet. Okay, so that gives me a pretty good idea for what's going on. These guys will follow me into war. These guys will hopefully honour their alliance. These guys down here are maybe a little bit tougher than I'd like to fight with just yet, because they've actually got 2 cities to call upon. And even worse, they've actually got a vassal of their own right next to them. So that leaves only a few people. There's Lictos right next to me, and they are actually in an alliance with Petra down to the south. Fine. So these 2 people, we could just basically march in and squish them. Lovely. Cadonia over here, however, these guys right now aren't friends with anybody. Okay, let's see if they're willing to. They're totally willing to sign up with me, because everyone on this island is culturally and religiously Hellenic, so we all get on pretty darn well. So I'm going to get them straight into the big alliance I've got with that guy on the far side of the island too. So, 2 allies and 1 vassal. Politically, we're probably fine to invade. But before we do that, we should probably just check in on the economy. I know it's doing alright because the little plus there means we're running a surplus, not a deficit, but let's just make sure we understand what's going on. Here we go. Income is significantly ahead of expenses, that's lovely, but I'm not planning to take my fleet anywhere. That's currently just yet in harbour not doing anything, so I'm going to lower that down to decreased pay. Morale down minus 80%, but the fleet cost is now halved. Spot on. But bear in mind, if I put them back onto normal pay, morale will take time to come back. So I don't want to really ever do that to my armies, because if I were to do that, it would take them months to get back to their previous morale. And I also can't help but notice there, most of my income is coming from tax, not commerce. So, alright, I think we can do something about that too. And this is where we're going to start spending some of these lovely currencies up top. So let's start off with religion here, because I'm being prompted to call down an omen. These are basically the equivalent of those little buttons at the top of the screen in Crusader Kings 2. They're just letting you know when you're able to do something. So an omen is basically a way for me to spend 200 religious power in order to get a benefit. But for me, it's a really, really powerful benefit. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to play as Knossos, because really tiny city-states have certain really cool advantages. And one of them is unity. You see, 100% of my citizens are religiously Hellenic, and as a result of that, a Hellenic omen is really important to literally everybody. If Phrygia over here were to try and call down a Hellenic omen, well, there's loads of people in Phrygia who aren't religiously Hellenic, so as a result of that, they wouldn't really care about a Hellenic omen, so the effect would be much smaller. But yeah, tiny united people like mine, you get some really, really powerful benefits. And the one I've got my eye on down there is, oh yeah, national tax up almost 25% for the next 5 years or so. Marvellous. And there we go, big uptick in the tax rate right there. That's a little bit of spare cash we can spend on some troops. And the next currency we want to look at is Civic Power, because the game is saying, hey, you can afford a new invention. This is one of the primary things Civic Power is used for, which is unlocking new little technologies that give you some small benefits. And when I say small benefits, some of them are really, really damn good. The tech system works a little bit like Stellaris, by the way, which is I've got 3 different options for each of the 4 main currency types. Meanwhile, over here, I've got my researchers who are working on the next level of techs. So if I were to immediately unlock, say, professional sailors and learning on the job, there wouldn't be any new military stuff showing up. Instead, military artisans would still be available, and then nothing would be available until he's done his research, which I believe is about 5 years or so out. And as tempting as property tax is, here we go, aggressive protection. Sometimes the only excuse we need is that we are the only ones who can truly offer security. Marvellous protection rackets, love it. So we most definitely want to be getting that down, because that means the fabricate claim cost is down 10%. And I most definitely want to be fabricating some claims, yes. But I'm not actually going to unlock another law, even though I could just afford it, because that's not all Civic Power does. There's a little bit more we need to do yet. Still, while we're talking about fabricating claims, that system's changed a bit from Crusader Kings 2. So rather than me just selecting someone and sending them into their country to just stand there for a while until I get lucky on a dice roll, now you just straight up spend currency to create a claim. It's expensive, and Oratory is a really valuable currency, but this is where my own Basileus starts coming into his own. He's good at Oratory, meaning I can fabricate claims more often, which is spot on. but we can't actually declare war immediately. There's a bit of cooldown after any diplomatic action to kind of represent messengers travelling backwards and forwards. So I can't do anything till the end of this month. But there's one thing I need to do first anyway. And that, of course, is make sure the army's ready to go. So we have a little look-see at my army. You may notice something about it. 5,000 men, 5 cohorts of archers. So what have these guys got? 5 cohorts of archers, 5 cohorts of archers, 5 cohorts of archers, 5 cohorts of archers. Why has everyone got nothing but archers? Well, there's a very good reason for that. You see, in Imperator Rome, for the most part, the units that you're able to train aren't actually tied to your culture or technology level. Instead, it's tied to you having access to the resources that you need to train them. To give you an example, literally everyone in the game is allowed to train war elephants, but they can't do it unless they have access to elephants, which the vast majority of people don't. The system works a little bit like civilization, I guess. If you want to train cavalry, you need access to horses. And if you want heavy infantry, you're going to be needing access to iron, which I don't have. You see, every single one of the 7,000 odd cities in the game is capable of producing one thing that's like its specialization. So over here in Knossos, my specialization is wood. And as a result of that, I can actually build Trireme Units. Now this really cheers me up, by the way, because the original Knossos in the original Minoan Empire were totally seafarers who, according to not really history, like when we're talking several thousand BC, there's no real history, we're just sort of guessing. But according to some stories and looking at their own artwork, it would appear they had a lovely big fleet. And one of the things that made them rich was they were able to export wood to other nations that didn't have access to it. And this actually leads into my favourite pet theory for what happened to the Minoan civilization. I want to be clear, this is not the preferred historical view, but it is a theory and I really rather like it, which is, we know ancient Crete was heavily forested because we know they exported a large amount of wood. Modern day Crete is not forested at all. It is entirely feasible that the reason the Minoan civilization collapsed is because they destroyed their own economy through excessive deforestation, thus explaining why there's no forest on Crete these days. It was aggressively deforested as possibly the first man-made environmental catastrophe in all of human history. Sorry, I got distracted by history there. So, if I've got access to wood, how exactly do I get myself access to iron? Well, that's what trade routes are for. You see, if we just go over to the trade guild maps for a second, I like this map. This is a good map. It's very, very colourful indeed. This is all the things that exist in the world. And the one we're interested in is iron. So just click on iron, and it will now show me everyone in the world who has access to iron, which you may notice isn't actually that many people. This means there's not enough iron to go round. There's going to be more people who'd like to actually train their own heavy infantry than there is iron available. And what's even worse is, if they've only got 1 iron, they won't trade it away. They will only ever trade away a surplus. And as far as I can tell, there's 2 ways you get a surplus. One, you get lucky and there's just 2 separate cities that produce a particular resource. So over here in Ionia, they've actually got 2 cities that each produce 1 iron, and thus they've got 1 surplus iron to trade away. The alternative is, you just need a big old pile of slaves, because for every 15 slaves locally, there'll be 1 additional local resource created. But we have got lucky here, because there is 1 spare iron floating around here in Greece that Aetolia are actually willing to trade me. Marvellous. And this is why I didn't take that second law, by the way, because it takes 25 civic power to form a trade route. So, let's get working on that. I'm now importing iron. Beautiful. And whereas previously I'd only be able to train skirmishers and archers, now I can train proper heavy infantry. And basically no one else around here is allowed to do that. I believe these guys over here do actually have iron. There is 1 source of iron on Crete, but they don't have surplus, so they won't be sharing it with anybody else. So 10 gold up front and 0.54 gold thereafter. Not nothing. Let's just check on the economy. Yeah, we can afford a little bit of that. Maybe 3 units, so I'm not eating into the surplus that badly. So, in we go, guys. Let's get 3 squads of heavy infantry into production. Now, that will take a little bit of time, 60 days each, but may as well get it underway. And the last thing the game's flagging to me, my army needs a commander. Now, this is a very, very big decision for a monarchy. You see, the thing about monarchy is, it's lovely and stable, right up to the point where the ruler dies, and then all his possible successors start immediately punching each other in the face. Which the current state of Macedonia, Phrygia, Egypt, and the Seleucid Empire very well attests to, in fact, yes. Because right now, I don't have any children. And as a result of that, a bunch of prominent people from inside my own Peneid family are basically lining up to potentially take over if I were to suddenly drop dead. So, we've got to be careful not to make any of these guys too big for their boots. You see, right now, Archimedes Peneid is actually being flagged as one of the most capable free people to lead this army. But yes, he's a pretender to the throne. I probably don't want to give him a massive army. That's probably a bad idea. So instead, we might want to do a little bit of a shuffly roundy. Here we go. We've got ourselves a man with very, very high martial skill working as my epistrategos, working on organisation and performance of the army. Spot on. And he's actually, yes, a tactician. Discipline of my archers up, and I've actually got a lot of archers. Discipline, as far as I can tell, just seems to refer to hitting power. It's basically offensive capability. His prominence is also very, very low indeed. He's not desperately capable, and he's unnoticeable. So this guy is unlikely to ever be king, so he's relatively safe as a general because he's never going to be challenging me. No one's ever going to say that guy ought to be king because he's not prominent enough. So that Archimedes Peneid is in fact going to be the new epistrategos, because yeah, that actually directly affects the cost of mercenary maintenance. We're not going to be hiring any mercenaries for some time, so he can just get on with that, and that frees up a very, very good commander to lead the armies who I don't really need to worry about in terms of loyalty. In which case, I would say, time to actually let time start ticking along here. Sorry, it's a paradox game. There's a lot to do in the opening moments of the game, as I'm sure you're all very, very well aware. So, the moment we hit the end of October, we'll be in a position to declare war, especially as... Have you guys actually decided to actually break down some of your troops? I think they have, yeah. Some of these people have actually broken down their troops, presumably because they were a bit on the expensive side. They've also started work on some buildings. So this guy started building a fortress, but that's not going to be done for years. So what I'm going to do is let at least my first unit of heavy infantry wrap up. And then check on the situation, because they know I've actually fabricated a claim against them. They're aware of that, so they might be desperately, desperately looking for new allies. Well, if they were, they have catastrophically failed, and we've now actually got ourselves 6,000 men, including some heavy legionaries. Flippin' spot on. And one final thing to do here, yeah, the formation or tactics we're going to be using here. Pretty simple stuff, really. Certain formations work better for certain troop types, and also work better or worse against other formations. So you can start metagaming pretty hard, but I'm just going to say, go on then. Let's just go for the formation that works best for my archers and heavy infantry, because that's what I've got plenty of. And just in case these guys are actually trying to get any more allies into like a defensive league or something, I would say it's time to go in. I've got 6,000 troops, I've got reinforcements coming in, these guys should be helping, these guys should be helping, these guys should arrive. It's time to declare war. I'm done with having only a single flipping city. So, open diplomacy, declare war right there, and because I've actually got myself a Casus Belli, there's no hit to stability. Yeah, even a king can't just go around declaring war with no justification whatsoever. That would hit your stability, which is a very important thing to keep high, because if it starts going down, your ruler starts becoming catastrophically unpopular, your subjects hate you, your research slows to a grind, your tax rate collapses. In general, don't mess with your stability. It's too important to mess up. My war goal is to actually take Crete off them, though I could just show superiority if that's what I wanted to do. But no, we're flipping going in. And has everyone decided to honour the alliance, or have they decided to walk out on us? Nope, everyone has decided to honour their alliance. Spot on. And the vassals don't get a flipping choice. So in which case, we are going to start marching in immediately. Get time ticking along. These guys are actually trying to fall back out of their city, but they're not going to make it out in time. And also we've got ourselves... Oh, good, I've immediately fallen ill. I've gained dysentery. What a good omen for the start of the war. And sadly, we don't actually have the money to seek treatment. But dysentery probably won't. Dysentery's killed a lot of people, John. Right, so we might be about to lose our king immediately. Good, good. Still, we're heading in, and this symbol means we are very, very likely to win. And hello, there's some pirates. They're bad, but that's fine. You guys actually managed to... Yes, you guys have actually managed to escape. Gotcha. Ah, bit of a problem, though. I was about to settle into a nice siege, but my allies are coming in because they've got no choice but to come this way. And there's a bit of a problem with that, which is they're going to be slaughtered by the combined 6,000 troops here. Now, if I were able to come down and help, I would do, but I can't. This place is their capital city, meaning it's a fort. A fort exerts a zone of control. It's like an FTL inhibitor in Stellaris, say. So I'm not actually able to walk from this area into this area. Until I've actually captured this area, I'm not going anywhere. Which means, unfortunately, these guys are just going to be stuck in a bit of a fight. They're going to lose pretty badly. In which case, I may as well just settle into the siege. The only alternative would be, yeah, begging these guys for military access. Then I can actually walk back to my territory, into his territory, and then round to these guys. But then they'd be able to just walk straight back into this territory. So probably the best thing to do is just basically siege down this place. And then by the time I'm ready to march down over here, the rest of my heavy infantry will be around. One thing I really like, by the way, the game's very transparent about what's actually going on in a siege, for example. So here we go. As time goes by, this little bar is filling up. And every time it does fill up, the game rolls a dice. The dice can give a result of between 1 and 14, and then these modifiers are added to it. +2 because my guy's a good general, -1 because there's a level 1 fort present. But if we just actually let this tick up here, there we go. We'll see that's actually just gone from -35% to -28%. Because the siege accumulation has gone up by 1. And as that happens, more and more bad stuff is likely to happen. Desertion, water shortage, all of that good stuff. And by the way, are you actually planning to come and attack me? I think they might be thinking about it. Because they've actually got a decent number of troops here, but I've actually got, yeah, good quality heavy infantry coming in too. So they're having a think about it, but it should go well in my favour if they do decide to try and take this place back. But for the time being, we're just playing the waiting game. Are you actually coming in? They're not sure if they want to do it. And there we go. There was just a food shortage. So I got a good roll there. That was a roll of 11. So as a result of that, we just actually killed some of the defenders very, very nicely indeed. Accumulation is ticking up. I do like this system because it means you can't be sure how long it's going to take to siege down a place. If you get really lucky, it might actually happen fairly quickly. But if you're unlucky, it can actually take a very long period of time. And now, we're up to 0% right there. These guys still can't be bothered to come and attack me. They actually outnumber me right now, and hello. And who are you? The renowned philosopher Pausanias Peneid. Okay, that's nice. If he's that renowned, we should probably actually make him my philosopher, because we've just got some guy with a beard as my philosopher right now. There we go, he's just a member of my extended family, so part of the same dynasty as me, but not a pretender to the throne. This guy's never going to be king. But he is offering to potentially teach me the true virtues of a ruler. Go on then, I don't see how that could hurt. It probably can hurt, but screw it, we'll give it a go. Right, I'm a little bit concerned by these guys now having 10,000 troops. That's... what have we got? Yeah, 3,000 archers, and 4,000 skirmishers. Just for safety, I'm actually going to call up one more unit of heavy infantry. Let's just get that done, please. But the siege is starting to go well at this point. We're now up to 0%, now plus 14%, and now things are getting much more likely. In fact, yeah, there's a 1 in 5 chance they're just going to surrender on the next dice roll, and then I'll have locked down this here city. Looks like one of them's actually heading over to attack my ally, and we just got lucky. We won that siege way earlier than we needed to. And as a result of that, we've got... oh, they're attacking. They are attacking us, but my heavy infantry should be able to carry the day right there. There we go. We've kicked their asses. Spot on. So we've won a good victory there. Lovely. And also this guy just gained some popularity for winning. This guy lost some popularity. Lovely. Although war exhaustion is slowly ticking up too, so we've got to keep an eye on that. So, you guys have had your asses handed to you. Spot on. And at this point, we're going to try and actually recover as best we can. And that's done through manpower up here. Manpower is basically a function of how many men are available to either build or repair. So if you don't actually have 1,000 men, you can't train a new unit of 1,000 men. And if your units get battered, you need manpower to repair them too. So don't train it down to 0, you're gonna need them for repairs down the line. Now, lictors have basically figured out that they are well and truly licked, so as a result of that, they're suing for peace. But I'm now kind of curious whether I'm actually able to take their allies' land as well. You know what? I'm going to march into this territory and we're just going to see what happens next. So, In we flipping go. We've beaten them once. We can beat them again. And here we go. We've actually managed to get on top of these guys and kick their asses nice and fast. These guys are running back to try and defend their homeland, but they're walking into a flipping slaughter too. So, anytime you're ready, I'm more than happy to kick your ass, you stupid bastard. Good, so we've murdered him too. Oh, and some marvellously good news. My king has become an exemplary student of philosophy. Spot on. So, Metrodorus has actually picked up +1 to Civic, together with Silver-Tongued. And Pausanias has also picked up loyalty, so he's nice and loyal to the king, who was his former student. Beautiful. So yeah, by virtue of just telling him to instruct the king, this guy was automatically promoted to philosopher. Lovely. Which arguably he's not actually very well qualified for, because philosophy as a skill is defined by zeal, and your zeal's not actually very good, but ooh, he just became a pretender. Now that's interesting. That's very interesting. Because you just became a bit more prominent and just were involved in a major event, you've just actually become one of the 4 people who fancies being the next king. Let's actually have a little look-see down at the war screen here, just to make sure we understand what we can get. So if I want to sue for peace and demand some peace, yeah, so Lyctian Crete to Knossos, absolutely. But if I want Aera Petra, I can demand it, but I'm going to need the war score to be higher first. Well, I'm in no rush. I'm very happy to just siege this place down, because at this point, they have pretty much no way of resisting me. Though, hang on, oh, now you've decided to show up. Now that you stepping into the territory has caused us to go over the flippin' supply limit. Well done. Now, what have we got here? Theodorus Proteid, in a fine display of financial acumen, has made significant alterations to the national budget. We should expect to see much better revenue this year. So this guy is not part of my dynasty. He's not actually a pretender to the throne, but he does actually have a job in my government. Here we go. So the higher his civic ability, the more tax we earn. So that's actually a very important job right there. And I can either take the money myself, ooh, national tax up 10%, or I can boost his loyalty and also just basically give him 100 gold that will be part of his personal treasury. Because yeah, characters have their own personal amount of gold that they own. So that'd be his own personal wealth that he could use for whatever he wants to use it for. But you know what? I will actually take the national tax up instead. He's plenty loyal enough, we don't need to be buying his loyalty. Oh yeah, the people of Cadonia have decided this is the moment they're going to show up too. Right, so, lesson learned. Sometimes vassals and allies just decide to politely stay out of the war until you've already won it because they're bloody cowards. Anyway, while we're just sieging this place down, because that's going to take a little bit of time to do, yeah, I've now actually got myself plenty of civic power to get a new invention down. And property tax, 5% national tax up, that's pretty flipping tempting. We can also see, yeah, progress has been made to the next tier of things. Yeah, go on, property tax, 5% national tax up, that's very, very important indeed. So get that in, lovely. And at this point, we're up to a 36% chance of a surrender, because this siege is going very, very well indeed, spot on. And in just a moment, we'll see if we're about to win, though. Guys, go home. And good, we've also got over dysentery. Doctors are overrated anyway. They're not overrated, we just couldn't afford one. And at this point, those guys have pretty much given up. I like how the actual image changes as time goes by. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, now it's just a 50-50 shot. At some point, they will surrender. They don't have a flipping choice. There we go. The siege has been won. Lovely. You'll also notice something I haven't actually been pointing out there. There we go. 1 to Knossos, 2 pops died. When you take a territory, you're not just taking it, you're also engaging in slavery. Because at this point in history, slavery is the backbone of plenty of economies, and that's very much represented here. You see, back over here at Knossos, we've now got ourselves 7 slaves. That's higher than it was a second ago, because we basically just, yeah, captured some populations and shipped them straight back here. Now that's very, very useful indeed, because slaves generate tax, and as I was mentioning earlier, if we can get 15 of them, they also generate a bonus wood. Then we can trade that wood away to someone else for a giant pile of money. Still, at this point, we've taken literally everything, so it's time to basically just win. So thankfully, there's a good suggest option right here. I wouldn't mind some war reparations. You willing to pay for... You know what? Maybe just taking their territory off them is good enough. I won't demand reparations too. Okay then. And that means I will now change my actual rank. I'm no longer going to be a city-state, I'm going to be a local power. We'll discuss that in a second. First, we need to figure out what to do with the local nobility. So we could just murder them all. That's actually pretty popular with the local Canossian lot. They're totally down for that. So that makes my king more popular, and he's not very popular right now. Alternatively, bit of murder, bit of banishment. That makes my aggressive expansion go down. That's like threat in Crusader Kings 2. Basically, it makes everyone else very, very nervous. But primarily, it annoys people of different cultures inside my empire. My empire is very, very much purely Hellenic, so high aggressive expansion doesn't make a huge difference to me. I could just imprison a few but let most of them just quietly slip away, but that would be unpopular, and popularity is poor for me right now. Or I can decide what to do with individual families if I want to bring more people into my ruling elite. So in other words, right now, all the characters who are actually significant, and by the way, we need to actually decide what to do with both of these elites, marvellous. This is everybody I can actually do anything with inside my empire. 3 families, my ruling dynasty, and 2 other dynasties as well. But of course that means there's only a certain number of people with a certain number of skills. If I had a massive skill shortage, like all these people were completely flipping hopeless, then in theory I could just say, yeah, invite these elites in, we'll just found some new families, whole bunch of new people, that'd be great. But that's fine, I think I've got plenty of people for the time being, so I'm gonna murder everybody in order to get my popularity up, because popularity for a monarch is very, very important for a reason we haven't really discussed yet. And that is legitimacy. Monarchs may not have a senate, but people do just kind of cast judgment over time as to whether they're doing a good job or not. 2 key things you need to understand about it really. If it starts going down, it acts as a cap on loyalty. So if your legitimacy is only a certain level, loyalty won't be able to go over a certain level either. And secondly, if legitimacy starts getting too low, people just start losing loyalty on a regular basis, like everybody. So basically, you're pretty damn screwed at that point. And we are going in that direction. Very slowly, I'm losing legitimacy. My philosopher can help get it back. Positive stability will keep it going up too. I'm not corrupt, so that's good. But you can see there, the fact I'm unpopular is a big point against me. I need to get my popularity up, so I'm going to murder some people just to help out with that. Now, local power. That just means I've got more than 1 city in my empire now. I've now got 3. So like those little guys to the south down there, we are now actually a local power. This means that the rules of how I interact with those around me have just changed. To be specific, remember how a second ago I actually had a couple of allies, these guys over here and these guys over here? Yeah, we don't have them anymore because you're only allowed to actually have alliances with people of the same size as you. So now the only relationship I've got is this vassal right here. But more importantly, I think some people are starting to get worried about that small rampage I just went on. Here we go. So Gortina just formed into a defensive league with, hang on, that's you on the edge, isn't it? Yeah, with you on the edge over there, and those guys have got iron and heavy infantry, and these guys over here. So there's now a defensive league of 4 cities standing against me. So basically everyone's getting a little bit worried. And on top of that, Gortina is also building additional fortresses. They are fortifying themselves up here. So probably the best thing we can do at this exact moment in time is not immediately go into another war. Everyone's panicking, my threat level is somewhat high, that'll decay naturally over time. Let's just let that tick down a little bit while everyone calms down. Sooner or later, these bastards will all want to go to war with each other anyway, so then I can start picking people off one by one. Best we focus instead on a couple of peaceful things I need to do. In particular, here we go, ideas that I set for my nation. And more importantly, if you actually make them match up to what you're seeing here, because you don't have to, I can just actually stick, like, say, an oratory idea right here in the military slot. But if you do make them match up, you actually get a really nice bonus, like +1 to every single one of your special currencies, and national slave output up by 10%, flipping lovely. The reason this is 1 military, 1 civic, and 1 religious, by the way, is because I'm an autocratic monarchy. So if I wanted to, though I can't do it right now, I'd need to actually, make some changes to law and whatever, I could change over to, say, an aristocratic society. Then I'd need 2 oratory and 1 military idea for the benefit. And the benefits are different for each different type of society. So yeah, plutocratic monarchy's kind of cool, because that's a bunch of extra money and trade routes. Still, let's get this set up here and let's actually get our national bonus, because there's no reason not to. So, military ideas. Some of these are not actually unlocked yet, because yeah, we need to actually unlock a bit more tech first. But Martial Ethos, morale of armies plus 10%, so they'll stand and fight for longer. Trireme cost minus 25%. Not bad, given there do seem to be some pirates right outside our flipping city, and I would like to get rid of them at some point, yes. Or reinforcement speed plus 10%. Interesting. I wouldn't mind trireme costs being down because, yeah, those bloody pirates are annoying me. And I can change this later, of course. So, yeah, let's actually just get that set up right now. This is costing me 50 oratory a go, but my basilisk does get oratory in pretty fast, so that's not really a big deal. Now, for civic ideas, build costs of building in my city down, national commerce income up. That's nice, but I'm not trading hugely yet, to be honest. National slave output plus 20%. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Yeah, go on. Let's actually have the national slave output up by 20% right there. And finally, one religious idea. So the oratory ideas I'm actually giving up on are, yeah, corruption to be down, general loyalty up. Oh, that's nice. Loyalty being up just across the board. And opinion maximum plus 33%. So people could be even happier with us. Lovely. Ah, now this is good. An origin myth. Rule of popularity game plus 0.33 a month. Yeah, I need to get some popularity going on sooner rather than later. So now as a result of that, yeah, popularity is going up 0.37 every month. So I'm starting to become more popular. Though I could really do with a sun whenever you're flipping ready. And don't forget, of course, we've just taken 2 cities. And like I was saying earlier, cities provide their own unique goods. So this city right here produces marble. This city right here produces fish. So now throughout the whole province of Crete, which is my entire empire right now, I gain all 3 benefits in all 3 cities. So because of access to fish, population growth is slightly up, we can still build triremes, and marble, local provincial loyalty up slightly, marvellous. Though bear in mind, these cities are a little bit unresty at the minute, just because of the fact we, recently went in and smashed them all to hell. So, they're gonna be annoyed at us, at least for the moment, but that's fine. They'll calm down in time. Though you may also notice they're not generating much money. That's that down over there. The reason for that is, money is primarily generated by slaves. And we kind of carried off most of their slaves already, which is why, yeah, right now, they're not making a huge amount of money for us. Probably worth briefly touching on what all the different types of people do at this point. So yeah, slaves, they produce tax for you. Tribesmen, we don't have any of them in Crete, but they would actually, yeah, produce a tiny bit of tax and a tiny bit of manpower. Freemen are the source of your manpower proper. So more freemen, more people you can call upon to fight for you. And citizens at the very top of society are primarily about commerce and research. Now, one slight problem, however. Unlike Crusader Kings 2, I can't just break down the army because the war's over. It's more like Stellaris. If I were to break these guys down, I'd need to retrain them at full cost again later. So they just need to stay standing. So I need to pay for their upkeep on an ongoing basis. Oh, and the situation's getting worse with Gortina as well. They've brought Rhodes into their defensive league. Fine, they're calling in outside help, and Rhodes aren't nothing. Rhodes actually have a decent level of strength, I think. Yeah, 8 cohorts, so about 8,000 men. Though they are a little bit busy waging a war right now, so they might not even show up. Ah, I wonder if Sparta might be interested in getting involved in any of this. Hello, Sparta. How do you guys feel about... Oh, well, this is very interesting. Sparta would be willing to accept an alliance because I'm a local power and they're a local power. And those guys are... Okay, Sparta doesn't actually have that many men because poor old Sparta, yeah, her glory days are long behind her at this point. Still, she controls a decent amount of territory and she is a bit worryingly close by to Crete. So I wouldn't mind being in a relationship with Sparta. What else do we know about Sparta? Guaranteed by Macedon. Fine, so this isn't going to pull me into a big war with the Macedonians, because the Macedonians are guaranteeing Spartan independence already. They're chill with Sparta. Boom! We are now actually allied with Sparta. And we've got enough points for a new invention as well. So, what do we want here precisely? Ooh, trireme discipline up. Wouldn't be a bad idea, given I do want to clear out those bloody pirates at some point. You know what? I'm going to go for humane conduct for diplomatic reputation up, because there is one way I could actually make myself a little bit stronger at some point, which is my vassal could get themselves integrated. Let's have a little look, see how we're getting on there. So, my vassal currently likes me to a tune of plus 69. Nice. So what we need to do now is, yeah, make them like me even flipping more. So if I actually wanted to start the integration, we need to get them up to 190 opinion. Okay, that's going to be a little bit difficult to do. There's a few things I could actually do in terms of, yeah, relations. I can just send them a little bit of money for plus 25. And I can slowly improve opinion over time. So in a few months we could get that kicked off. So bringing those guys actually into the Empire next probably wouldn't be a bad idea. In fact, I'm starting to detect a plan here. If I was to build a big enough fleet to see off these here pirates, then I would start making more money through commerce, because that's what pirates do. They reduce your commerce by about 50%. And if I was to be able to control the seas in this part of the world, roads wouldn't be able to get involved with any theoretical war I wanted to wage. You know what? Ships are very, very cheap. Get 4 triremes into production right now, please. Though I could, I suppose, break down, yeah, 1 or 2 archers, just to be safe. Though, aha, something I suspected might happen has indeed occurred. So some of these units have a hand next to them. That means those guys are now loyal to their general, which is why I wanted to make sure a pretender wasn't actually my general. Now, as long as he's still taking orders from me, that's fine. But if at the moment I die, he fancies himself as a potential next king, that could be a problem. So this guy, we need to keep a very, very close eye on his loyalty, because just the fact that he's actually got loyal cohorts means his loyalty is starting to decline. So how about we actually give him a triumph to say thank you for that military campaign. Costs us a bit of religion, costs us a bit of military. We got plenty of that, that's absolutely fine. So we're going to hold a triumph for him. Marvellous. He gains 20 loyalty, so he's much more likely to not cause trouble for me. And in addition, he's actually more popular. But he's never going to be that popular because, yeah, he's stubborn and he's not very charismatic and all of that business. Oh, and we got big news here. The Olympic Games are underway. Marvellous. So they're just going to kick off over on mainland Greece, that's fine. And I can choose to send someone. And if I get very, very lucky indeed, they'll do spectacularly well and that will just be good for me. So we've got a well-muscled brute of a man, Marvellous, and a son of Apollo himself, who calls himself Metrodorus. Alright, so do we send the really, really beautiful man, or the ridiculous bulky man? Let's send Pantadarnus, because my name's also Pantadarnus, so it's a good name, damn it. Though that does mean he's no longer working in civic advances, so we need to find someone new to do that job. You can do that, there you go. Sadly, you're not as good. Now, bit of a problem here. Our veterans want some farmland, and we don't actually have that much farmland. Giving them what we have may assuage their anger. I can just try and bribe this guy, their commander. It's going to cost a big old pile of money, and the army's going to suffer from low morale. Or we can just say, screw you, this guy loses loyalty, and the army suffer from low morale for the next, like 4 odd years. That's very significant. It's only 10% though. No, unfortunately, I think we're just going to have to accept that. Morale only 10% down isn't the worst thing in the world. We can eat that. Oh, that's just embarrassing. Not only did we not win the Olympics, apparently the ultimate champion was some guy from Gortina. Boo! Still, we sent somebody, so I still get a little bit of popularity out of it. Alright, because I've actually got a port over here, I've had to train some of my new triremes over on this side of the island. So the fleet is currently divided. But we may as well just try and... Oh, go away, I don't care about your renovations. Hang on, what do you want? One of our most valued temples is in dire need of renovation. So that would actually get me 25 prestige and popularity. But it would put me into debt. But I am running an actual surplus right now, so we would recover from that debt. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Yes, screw it, I could do with the popularity. Go for it. As I was saying, you guys, even though you're slightly outnumbered, move out together. I'm confident you can take that bastard out, because they've got a really poor quality commander. Only military skill of 1, so make it flippin' happen. And you, yeah, fine. Get on with it. Let's just head in there. I think we should win this. Yeah, the game is actually saying we should handily win. Okay, stop rolling zeros. Seriously, stop rolling zeros, you stupid bastards. I'd like you to roll a better dice, please. So, he's already lost 2 ships. We've actually, no, we haven't lost any ships so far. Okay, he's lost 3. He's lost 4. He's lost 5. And I'm guessing things are happening right now. There we go. Screw you, you stupid bastards. Oh, and bad news. Because I went into debt, I've had a very, very bad event. So, research points down 25%, which is not good at all. So, yeah, that is bad, but it gets me a handful of money and gets me back into the black. The pirates are now naffing off, and, excuse me, I think actually we'll be finishing you guys off, actually. Screw you, go away. That's more like it. Chase them around a little bit. That pirate fleet has been eliminated. We need to merge these fleets together. A child is born and... Okay, it's another daughter. Could do with a son. Anytime you're ready. And the fleet returns to port. There we go. And we should now be making a tiny bit more money. Yeah, commerce has just gone up. So the treasury has gone up too. I might be willing to break down one of those ships, to be honest. Yeah, just create a new unit, move one of you over, select that unit, and then let's just break that down, please. And better news, yeah, Oratory advances. We've got the first of the tier 2 Oratory stuff showing up now. So I could get aggressive expansion down, lovely. Though actually my aggressive expansion has worn off at this point, so hopefully everyone will chill out and abandon their defensive league sooner or later. And you know what? I'll actually take, yeah, Omen Power plus 5%. That's pretty good. Let's go for that. Okay, I need more money coming in nice and fast. What are we going to do to make a bit more money? We've got rid of the pirates, so let's actually get the fleet maintenance back down to very, very little. I need to pay the army in case I need them in a hurry. I'm not going to go reducing the wages of my actual people doing jobs because, yeah, their loyalty is going to go down quite a lot. That would be a bad idea. I could slow down my own research in order to get slave output up. Now, that would actually be worth a fair bit of tax right there. Though actually not a huge amount. Crete's actually producing, yeah, 0.78. That's the tax being produced by the slaves. The game just gives you a little bit of base just to start you off. So that wouldn't be affected by increasing the tax rate on slave output. But as commerce is actually worth very little right now, if I was to actually increase, province import routes plus 1... But, okay, so that's only losing me, like, yeah, 0.1 gold. But, that opens up a brand new trade route. Now, the trade routes could be very, very useful indeed, because sure, so far we've been talking about bringing in strategic resources for training troops. But that's not all that does. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can import that do a whole bunch of different things. So yeah, grain, fish, and livestock increase the local population growth. If you want to keep people happy, you can bring in wine, olives, dates, precious metals, all of that good stuff. Some of that stuff actually increases output as well. Military, so stone increasing the fort defense levels, cohort recruitment speed, supply limit up. There's a whole bunch of good stuff here. Economy and technology seems like a good one though, so... Local tax up by 10%. That's only local tax, that's not national tax, but still pretty decent. But papyrus is a really nice one. Research rate plus 20%. Not bad at all. You know what, go on. Getting technology up a little bit faster would be a good idea. So we'll bring that in from Egypt. We're bringing in papyrus, and now as a result of that, we have access to papyrus. Research is coming in faster. Ah, yes, and my vassal. We've got a ton of oratory power right now. Let's actually focus on getting them on board for the time being, because then we can be confident they will actually bother showing up. So right now, they're at 70 with us. In order to actually integrate them, what exactly do I need? 190. So I need to get up by 120. And there we go, spot on. The improved opinion gets me plus 125. That's more powerful than I remembered it being, so... Go on, let's just get working on that. For only 50 oratory, that's actually pretty damn good. Oh, capital import routes. I'll be taking some capital import routes right there. Another flipping trade route is open. Spot on. Ah, yes, and my governor policy. I need to actually change that. Right now, it's very much defensive. But if I focus myself on encouraging trade, yeah, commerce income up, local import routes up. Let's actually encourage trade. This is expensive to do, by the way. That's 50 oratory power to change that. But now I've got 4 routes here. Lovely. And the fleet to defend myself if pirates do show up. Here we go. Bring us some hemp. Local slave output plus 10%. Lovely. Bring that in from Mysia. And on top of that, every single one of these trade routes is making me a little bit of money too. 0.3 a month. And I can't actually fill my final trade route yet, because I think I need, what is it, 25 to do? I think it's, yeah, 25. So I just need to wait for that to reach 25, and then we'll be good to get a 4th trade route coming in. Then we're going to start making some decent money. And speaking of which, it is now Omen time. I like the Blessing of Hades. Just get that straight back on again. Lovely. There we go. Bring in some cloth as well, just to increase the actual amount of tax from North Phoenicia. And now, we should actually be starting to make some decent money. There we go. Plus 2 gold a month. Not spectacular, but for an empire this size, it'll do for now. Apollo is seeing good times coming for our country, particularly under the leadership of Pantadarnus. Oh, that's marvellously good news. So legitimacy up, omen costs down, national unrest down a little bit, or we could celebrate like crazy. So what's the actual difference here? It's... are we just basically making this last an extra 5 years? Okay, in that case, we'll just say thanks to the Oracle. That's fine then, because there's no benefit aside from just giving up 30 gold. So, you know what? Thanks, but that's not actually worth a party. I already knew I was awesome. Here we go. This is good news. My legitimacy is now holding steady at like 96%. And that's because, yeah, I've changed my philosopher to be someone a bit more well-suited to the job. I'm a lot more popular than I used to be. Stability is positive. The prophecy of Delphi is helping out. I've got renowned lineage. Basically, everything's looking pretty good right now. And the economy is really shifting too. Right now, Crete is giving us 1.68 gold in commerce. The tax is only 1.04. Most of that tax is just base. So right now, commerce is actually making us more flipping money. So I should really be changing focus onto that. So... go on then, let's actually change over to standardized measures. 5% increase in national commerce income. Lovely. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I'd say that is enough for now. We have made a very, very good starting point here, but the rest of Crete now stands against us. We will be cracking on with that later today, ladies and gentlemen. That will be happening very, very soon indeed. So stick around for the greatest war that has ever been fought on the island of Crete. Hopefully, you'll join me for that. But in the meantime, I've been John. This has been many a true nerd, and this has been Imperator Rome. Thank you very much, and goodbye. This guy's enjoying that. This guy's enjoying his elephant a bit too much.
Oh my god.
In Fair Verona, we set our scene. Oh my god, Becky, look at her butt. It is so big. They've managed to glitch inside one of the buildings. Elephants in the rear! And then in come the chariot!